I mean, I'm going to bring my ignorance in. So you're going to
Yeah,
help
of
me
course.
out
Well,
with it.
you know the N word ain't a thing.
It ain't a thing. And, I think if we talk real, though, we can actually maybe have an authentic conversation to create change.
Absolutely.
So I'm coming to you to learn, right?
Yeah.
And you're a super intelligent man, Genius Lab. I know we'll get to that. Here we are, Black History Month. You know, what should we be talking about in Black History? What? So help me out, man.
Well, I think as we were saying in the pregame, if you got to ask, if white America has to ask, what should we be talking about for Black History Month, then I really don't want to talk to you, because that means you're just proving you still don't get it, and you're pacifying me, and so let's not pacify Black folk. Let's not pacify Black America because, oh, we're still in this social justice unrest in this country. You know, if to answer that question though, for those who really want to know, you should be talking about the true contributions of Black people to this country. You got to be talking about this country was built by Black people and Native Americans, right? That's what you should be talking about. This is well past the, no disrespect. This is well past the Dr. King and the Rosa Parks. Are you kidding me? And for teachers, educators, people who want to rely on Dr. King and Rosa Parks as the epitome of Black History Month, you're getting it wrong. As a matter of fact, one of the things you should be talking about Black History Month is you should be saying Black history is not just a month. It has to be that. So that's what we should be. That's what we
Man,
should be talking about. But hey,
you're
look,
bringing
Joe,
it.
if you
You're
gotta
bringing it.
ask me, if you gotta ask somebody, if you gotta
Okay.
bring in Black folks to figure out how to do Black history, you're gonna you're gonna be in trouble. You're in
You know
trouble.
what? I like the real talk. You're going to smack me around a little bit. We're going to be okay. But
It's
that's the
all
piece.
love.
We pick each other up and we say
Yeah,
we're actually going to do something about it.
yeah,
Now, you had something, maybe a little conversation. You have your own kids. There's nothing more personal than your own kids. So tell me
yeah.
if you're saying in the pregame, like you're talking about.
Listen, I've
We're not
helped.
naming people. We're not blaming and shaming people.
No,
But
no, no,
yeah,
no. This
yeah.
ain't
All
that.
right,
So
all
look,
right.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
be
yeah.
very, very.
Okay.
This is a, my friends call me Stu. My friends call me Stu. This is a Stu. This is Stu's moment of disclosure. So when I give you a moment of disclosure, that means I'm about to tell you something that's really deep and personal to me, that probably most people wouldn't even dig in this deep. But this is Stu's moment of disclosure, and I don't know. I'm probably talking to an audience who knows nothing about me. But let me share this story. So I have right now, I have a child that's in sixth grade, and I have a child that's a junior in high school. I have more children, but I'm talking specifically about these two. And I've helped hundreds of thousands of people. That's a lie. I exaggerate.
But
I've helped.
you're just like, oh, okay. If you're going to be real, I'm going to be real.
No, that's a lie. That is not no.
But you might have been from the multiplier effect. I would guess you would have.
And no,
Right?
that'll be the clip that people will take out. He said he took no. I've helped thousands of young people over the years. I've helped thousands of young people, but I struggle with one of my own. Right. So I have this junior in high school who has always done well in school academically, but is ready to drop out right now, ready to be done with school. She's over it. She's not going to virtual learning. It's a, I can't talk. She's not. It's so that's one conversation. But the conversation you and I were talking about. So my son's in middle school. This is the first year going into middle school. He leaves elementary, go to middle school. So they are all virtual all year. They don't get to the socialization aspect of school this year. And then the school district is 33% Black, 27% Hispanic, Latinx, and 30 some odd percent white, right? And they have absolutely no Black teachers in the school, right? And so I'm zero Black teachers. The school district has one Black
That's
male
the norm, though.
assistant principal.
Okay, got you.
And so I have approached the interim principal and have said, hey, I can provide some assistance with, helping with your diversity issue. And this conversation has been going on for about 6 months now. So she finally gets on the phone with me yesterday, and she's like, "Look, Mr. Stewart, we recognize that we have a diversity issue, and it is a priority for us, but we're going to have to table this until next year." And so I'm fuming. I'm fuming because I've been reeled in for 6 months about how this was important and they were going to do something. And, not only do I have a child at the district, but I have a program that can help. And I was just infuriated. And I probably said it wrong. Infuriated. I probably said it wrong again.
Infuriated.
I was upset. I was
upset.
mad.
You were down and dirty. It was just like,
I was mad, really
angry.
because this woman doesn't get it. She just doesn't get it. Is unwilling to get it. And so then I started talking about, how are they going to approach Black History this school year? And she's like, we're not really sure. It's one weekend. It's a weekend. Like, this wasn't. So that's part of my frustration when you ask, particularly in the space about education, and we're talking about equity in education. We're not talking about a school district that has a 5% Black student population or 3% Black student population. We're talking about a third of the student population, and 0% of the teaching staff represents the students. There's only one Hispanic, Latina teacher at this district. And so it's not equitable on any part. One of the things that my son said to me is like, they have conversations and he feels excluded from the conversations. He says in the virtual space, he's in his class, there are 4 Black students. He's one of 2 males and there are 2 girls, Black girls. He says they are never called on. So I have to say, look, come on, son. You got to be careful when you tell me these stories. I know how we can embellish. I know how we can over-exaggerate. Please be very, very careful here now, because these are important, heavy accusations that you're making, right? So I want you to be very, very honest. And my son and I have a very good relationship, and he's like, "No, Dad, I'm telling you, the teacher never calls on me." So he feels disconnected. And this, I'm sure, is happening across the country. And so when you talk about what's happening, what do we need to be thinking about with Black History, you really got to first check yourself. If you're that educator, that white educator, where do you stand? Let's first be honest. Be honest with yourself. Do you not give a shit about? Are you ready for Black people to get over it? And if that's your position, admit it. Admit it, because once you can admit that that's your position, then ask yourself, do you want to do something about it? Admit it. Yes, I want to do something about it. And then that path will be easier, and then maybe we can talk about what you do there. But if you're saying, no, I want Black folks to stop talking to me about this stuff, I want to get over it, be honest with yourself about that. And then now you can open up a different dialogue about what you can do to serve the students that may or may not represent, your beliefs, your position.
Got you. Wow. Heavy, man. You have this white guy. I was a principal at a school, so you can look me right in the eyes, right? You can say, "Dude, I'm that principal," right? So what do I do as a principal? What is the thing I need to be thinking about after I check myself and I have this conversation with you, and I'm like, whew, I have this whole school and this community.
Look, after if you checked yourself, you looked yourself eyeball to eyeball in the mirror, then you recognize that you have to do something. And what you do is open yourself up to being smacked around a little bit. Open yourself up to the punishment of the conversation and get gut checked. A lot of times truth hurts, and so we avoid it. But that's where the growth is. So here's my answer. Get uncomfortable. Get uncomfortable. Make it, let's normalize being uncomfortable for the sake of change.
I love it.
That's
You
what
know,
you do.
you know what? We've been hearing from other people, oh man, pandemic. Obviously, there's been a much bigger pandemic prior to this, right?
Mm,
I just wanted to go back to normal.
yeah.
I don't think you wanted to go back to normal. That's what I'm hearing.
Well, I think it's absolutely impossible to go back to normal. There, we are in a new normal, and the new normal is that everybody recognizes that racism exists, and it needs to be abolished. And education is how we're delivering it or how we've been delivering it needs to be re-evaluated. And so the truth is, I don't. We're not going to go back to how things used to be. It's just it's over for that. It's how things are now, and let's look at how things might be in the next 10 and 20 years. And I think that's the reality. So we got to get out of. You have to stop asking for things to go back because it's just if you're an educator. You're an educator. You know darn well that it's impossible to go back. That's like saying I just want to be a kid again. I mean, you could be 40 years old and act like a kid, but it ain't the same. You can't do it. So step into the reality. Like we're in a weird space right now, and how are we going to navigate through this weird space? I have also said this group of learners that we are working with, and I'm talking about from my toddler twins who are 16 months old up until college age students, right? The all of this is changed how we approach education. It's all changed. Desktop computers are dinosaurs to young people. Um, uh, Reading and devices are, the books are archaic almost. That's it's an art to read a book. You got to touch a tablet. You flip a screen, right? You communicating. This generation holding a phone to your ear, like the fact that you actually heard a phone ringing. You may think that's a sound effect from a movie, right? That
That's
doesn't
awesome.
happen, right?
Yeah.
So all of this face to face, this is it. This is where we are, and we got to get okay with that. You have to
Yeah.
be okay with that.
This idea about lion chasers, chasing lions,
Yeah.
Genius Lab, kids who are in this space every day, like not being called on, literally not being called on. Tell me about Genius Lab and why and how that can be an inspiration for the rest of us.
Yeah, Joe, my background is business, but I learned learned over my mother was an educator, a lifelong educator, and that was actually my gift. I did not go to school to study to be a teacher or be an educator. So I found myself after 9/11 in 2001 in a career shift, and I just finished grad school, and I had this program to teach youth about entrepreneurship. So I found myself inside of Chicago Public Schools. I'm working in some of the toughest neighborhoods on the south side of Chicago. And over the years, I realized students were not, oh, in that capacity, part of my role was to visit school districts that were performing, school districts in more affluent neighborhoods to kind of compare and contrast resources. And one of the things I found is my students were not being validated as learners, as having the potential to learn. They were, and this is not necessarily by white folks. This is some black folks are doing this to our kids too. Like just not giving them the validity as a learner. And so one day I started calling in the classroom. I just started calling my students young geniuses. Like, hey, you're a genius. Like tap into your genius. And out of that is how I came up. You know what? I'm going to start a business teaching young people. And one of the things we're going to refer to them as geniuses. And the lab is where you tinker and make and experiment. So we're going to experiment and tinker and laboratory genius out of young people, right? We're going to be the scientists of creating amazing young people. And that's how the name Genius Lab came about. Now, the Lion Chasers program that we offer, which is a social and emotional program, came from, and I'm gonna give a special shout out to Mark Batterson. Mark Batterson, if you happen to catch this, thank you for writing the book, Lion Chasers, Lion Chasing. Look up Mark Batterson in the book Lion Chasers. So his book inspired me, changed my life, and I thought that I could do something like that for young people. And so the lions represent the things that we fear in life. And I'm not talking about rodents or snakes or spiders. I'm talking about, the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of what somebody might say about you, the fear of being wrong, or the fear of, somebody talking about they don't like your hat, or why didn't he wear a tie? He's talking to Joe, or something. Just being authentic and being yourself, or, so that the Lion Chasers program is about helping young people affirm themselves, advocate for themselves, build their self-confidence, build their self-awareness, so that they can go out into the world and effectively adult. And that's what that's about.
Bringing it home, man. Bringing it home. Yeah, I think about those fears that we all have, especially when you talked about that identity, like looking yourself in the mirror and like, am I seeing what I want to see? And when you start having these conversations, it's always a reflection back. And man, I always kind of count on how my conversation went based off of how I feel. And you make me kind of be really introspective and, slap me around a little bit. But no, it's all good, because it's about, if we got to be in the space, right? Share space together.
Yeah.
And to create that new way forward. That's the beauty of Thrively. As you know, that partnership we have with you is that you're putting some of those lessons in there so that we can get that authentic experience, not written from a white perspective, but from your perspective. And when you say not one teacher in your child's school is Black, right? How do you get that perspective? So by having those resources embedded is awesome. And then lastly, talking about what's strong with kids versus what's wrong with them. Like, imagine that, right? Like all this, oh, that kid can't do this, can't do that, can't do this, right? So imagine how that kid feels at the end of the day of 12, 15, 16, 18, 20 years of that. Yeah. So we have a huge responsibility, and final word is always yours. Final word is yours.
Well, look, the work that Thrively is doing to empower young learners is absolutely phenomenal. I'm super stoked about being in partnership with Thrively. I think you, Joe, are a true asset to the Thrively family and community. And I encourage you and the entire team at Thrively to continue to forge ahead in this capacity with this work. You guys are at the front of educational change, educational leadership, the future of how education is to be delivered. People should be paying attention. If you're not paying attention to what's happening at Thrively, you're asleep at the wheel, particularly if you're an educator. And I'm not saying that you guys aren't paying me to say that. And you ought to know by now from this 15-minute conversation, I'm not going to bullshit you. I'm not going to sugarcoat you. I'm not going to say anything just to make you feel good. Although I am always looking for I'm always looking at the positive. But if I'm not feeling it, I'm not going to say it. The work that you guys are doing at Thrively is absolutely phenomenal. And I encourage you to continue forward down this path.
Well, if you like this, we're going to continue on with I Want to Rock With You.
That's right.
Come on, you're going to show me those moves? Are you going to say, Joe, don't do that again? Stay in my lane.
Man, that's right.
My wife would say, keep your hands right there. Keep it right there.
Just keep it right here.
Right there.
The hitch. That's that hitch move. Hey, look, we'll continue to rock with each other, man. Right. It's all about authentic connections. Yeah. You guys are doing it. Keep doing what you're doing. And, I'll say this final thought. Be uncomfortable.